Well, thanks for joining us today. My name is Jasper with Score Maine, joined by Mary Haley, who's going to be presenting on Reels and social media marketing. If you didn't know about us at Score, we are a free, no-cost nonprofit partner of the Small Business Administration, offering business mentoring for any part of the life of your business, from open to close. And if you don't already have one, you can visit score.org for a free one-on-one mentoring session. I want to thank our sponsor today, the Maine Technology Institute, for making this event possible. If you have any questions, feel free to queue them up in the chat or utilize the raise hand function in the React window as need arises, or we'll address them in the Q&A portion. Either way, Mary, why don't you take it away?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen in just a second. But my name is Mary Haley. I own MXH Marketing. We're a marketing agency based in Skowhegan, but we work all over. And we specialize in outdoor recreation and tourism marketing. But we actually have clients across various disciplines and do various different things, from email marketing to web stuff to content creation to social media marketing to digital advertising, all that good stuff. So I'm going to share my screen because I have a short presentation before we get into sharing, creating a reel. We'll talk about that in just a second. All right, so I'm going to start off. So what we're talking about today is we're going to talk about what reels are. We're going to kind of go over a little social media marketing basic review just to kind of get us in the flow of thinking about marketing and social media marketing. Talking about how to create variety while staying on brand with your marketing. A lot of people, I think one of the common barriers is, what do I even post about? So we're going to look at a couple of really cool examples. We're going to review some of my top priorities when I'm making a reel, how to earn reach with reels. And then actually I'm going to get my phone logged on and we're going to do a reel. I'm going to share my phone screen and we're going to do a reel in real time, going through the app on my phone, which I have tested out and I hope will work good. It was a little glitchy last time we did this, but I think I figured it out and hopefully it'll work seamlessly for us today. And then I'm going to try to plan to leave at least 15 minutes or so at the end to answer any questions you guys might have. So what are reels? Reels are short form videos on the Meta platform. They are on Facebook now. They originally launched on Instagram. And they were a competitive product to address the rising usage of TikTok, which TikTok is a short form video application. And because Instagram, in their mission to compete with TikTok, they actually prioritize reels on their algorithm. And what I mean by that is not to say that other like static posts or carousels aren't going to work, but when they evaluate content and what is good content and what they want to push to viewers, they prioritize content that is made as a reel. These reels are typically looking at 7 to 15 seconds. Some can be 30 seconds. I believe the app has a time limit of 90 seconds. I feel like sometimes that changes, but I believe it's currently 90 seconds is the longest reel you can make and upload. And that kind of strategy of prioritizing reels really is reflected in the engagement rate by type of post. Reels as a video post. Obviously, people engage as humans. We engage more with video than we do with just static images, especially on social media. They can usually convey a story a little bit better or show more than just one photo can. So when we're looking at engagement rate, these are average engagement rates. And reels get the highest rate. So that's why it's really good to create reach and find new followers. That's really what they're best used to do. And a good average engagement rate is about 1 to 3%. If you have a smaller following, you're going to see that rate probably higher. And how I calculate engagement rate, some people do it a little differently. Some people use impressions instead of reach, but you basically take your total engagement, that's your likes, shares, comments, you divide it by your reach, and then you times it by 100. Reach is the number of individual people who have seen the video versus impressions. Like if you look up this formula, you'll see a lot of people calculate it by impressions. Impressions is how many times that reel has been seen, and that accounts for like someone who might have seen it 3 or 4 times. So I always, when I calculate it with reach because I want to see the number of individual people who liked it and then engaged with it. So going over a little bit of social media basics, social media marketing basics. I am a big advocate of not getting sucked into every brand new platform or every platform that comes to market. Lots of times they can be, shiny new toys that we all want to try out and experiment with. And that's fine. But really, if you're want to be effective on a platform, you really have to kind of take some things into consideration. And that being, your demographics. Are they old or young? What are they interested in? What are their buying habits? Each platform kind of skews to very generalized majority demographics. For example, Facebook tends to be a little bit older. TikTok is very young. Snapchat's even younger than that. So if you're trying to market towards Gen Zers, you're probably going to want to be on TikTok or Snapchat versus Facebook. You also want to look at what kind of content do you have to share, and content can be anything from infographics to blog posts to white papers, to video, to photos, to memes. That's all content. So what type of content do you have to market your product or service? If you have a lot of pictures or video, Instagram is going to be really good for that. If you don't have any video, you're going to want to stay away from things like TikTok because that is video based. And if you don't have video, you're probably not going to be able to make a lot of really effective reels. Or if you're really primary link based, where you're constantly trying to link out to something, you're going to find a lot of better success on Facebook, or leveraging some of the link sharing tools on Instagram. And what do you sell? That's going to kind of sway where you want to market as well. Is it a product, is a service? For example, TikTok, the TikTok space has and Instagram Reels as well, is really good for like makers, people who create things behind the scenes, time lapses of things being created. TikTok especially really leans towards people engaging with that content. And then what resources do you have available to you? Again, going back to, don't try to get on every single platform. Pick a couple that you can do well and be really strong at. It's better to be really good at 1 or 2 platforms than to try to spread yourself and your content thin across multiple platforms. Time is a resource. Money is a resource. The content you have at your disposal or have time to create is a resource. There's, the saying, if you have a lot of money, you don't need a lot of time. If you have a lot of, what is it? If you have a lot of money, you don't need a lot of time. But if you don't have wait, I'm messing up this saying. We're going to move on from it. Anyways, so how to create engaging content. Chasing trends is not a sustainable strategy. When I've done marketing for clients, we'll grab a trend occasionally if it fits our brand, if it fits what we want to create and what we want to say and the story we want to share. But chasing trends is not sustainable. It's very fast moving, and it's going to burn you right out. So, trends should be a complementary added value to your strategy, but not your whole strategy. You don't have to go chasing the most popular TikTok dance to get reach or to get viewers. Engaging content is good quality content. Now, this isn't to mean that you have to, hire a video producer and produce cinematic style videos. But it does mean you should, you know, Google a few basic photography or videography tips. Invest in some basic equipment like a tripod, so that you can make sure that things are even and steady, that you can frame things properly. And those are, and it's very easy just to be able to take a few quick tips and use them to create a video that's attractive for people to view. Captions are also part of that whole thing. It's part of the many different facets that create a good reel. Captions, ChatGPT is great for brainstorming. Don't use those captions unedited. They don't read like a human being. And sometimes they capitalize things weird. It's great. It's a great brainstorming tool, but it's not something that you should just be copy and pasting from. You want to write like a human being. You know, social media is at its core social. It's about people connecting with people, people connecting with brands, brands connecting with them. So you want to write like a human being, and make it relatable, make it interesting, and make it relevant to what you know your viewers are looking for. And when you're publishing content, you want to kind of find this fine line balance of, you know, publishing things that are growth materials, nurture content, and sales content. And what I mean by that is, you know, you want to provide some value for free to your audience, before you start asking them to buy something from you. If you're constantly just, you know, driving sales copy down their throats every time they find your page, they're going to get fatigued, they're going to get disinterested, and they're not going to want to engage with you. So you want to, you know, balance that with your nurture and growth content, with your sales content. And people are intrinsically driven to reciprocate. If you're providing value for free on your Instagram, in your content, whether that's just to delight, maybe that's to surprise, maybe that's to educate. If you're providing that value, they're going, when it comes time for you to say, hey, buy my product or book with me or hire me, they are more likely to reciprocate that ask because they've already gotten something from you already. And right here we have, these are two pretty good examples of that type of balancing content. This client is a destination management organization. So they just basically promote tourism in the area. So it's actually, we don't really have a service and we don't really have a product that we market. We're basically marketing an area and saying, hey, come visit here, you'll like it. And so these are two examples of different types of reels that we've made, that were highly successful. This one was a very simple reel about picking fiddleheads. It wasn't educational. It didn't teach you how to pick fiddleheads or anything like that. It was, and it has a very simple caption here at the bottom. This is really just a reel to delight people and get people excited for fiddlehead season. As opposed to this caption here, where you can see we have a much longer caption. And this is paired with basically a video blog, if you will, of going into a remote waterfall. And so the video shows the story of hiking to that waterfall from start to finish, what they can see. And it's paired with a caption that tells them how they can do this themselves. And you're providing value, and getting people excited about visiting the region and asking them, you can't really see it, but it then asks them to either sign up to a newsletter or download our guidebook. So you can see how those two different types of content, and they do different things. This is another thing about how to kind of create variety in your reels, while staying on brand. So BrewMate is one of my more favorite brands to show examples from because they're really good. They obviously have their audience very well defined. It is women, that's, for lack of a better word, like woo girls, is kind of like, you know, one of their sub audiences. Moms, wine women who love wine, like that is, they have their audience very dialed in. And so, you know, this is their mission. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but from this mission, that you can see this mission reflected in all these pieces. So, you know, they say, we believe everyday moments should be celebrated. That's why we create innovative products that inspire you, motivate you, and empower you. And here we have a reel where it's just a video talking about how they've got all these 3 different mugs that do 3 different things, and they're relating to the people who love to have mugs and have various coffee mugs on their desk, or mugs doing with different drinks. I'm sure we all know at least somebody like that. And then they also have a reel where they're actually answering a question that someone says, what about straws that have the lids fold down? And so they're making a reel in response to a customer question, which makes this highly relevant. And then you can see the engagement that it gets, that people are asking questions about the product, or their interest in the product, or they're excited about the product. And then we have another reel, which is also different from these, but still on brand, which is a recipe of how to make a delicious drink in your BrewMate mug. And so through that, they are inspiring people, they're motivating people, they're empowering people, they're staying on brand, but with very different content themes in these reels. So hopefully these tune up. Awesome. So when I'm making a reel, I'd say, I mean, there's a lot of things to think about, but when I'm physically making the reel and the video within Instagram, there's a couple of things I'm thinking about when I'm making the reel. And one of them is timing the music, changing your video footage during beat drops or beat changes in the music. We're going to play this really quick, and you'll see it in a second. So and it changes, and then it changes. So you can see that pairing video transitions with music changes is visually and aesthetically appealing to the viewer. This isn't something that viewers subconsciously recognize, but it's not something they consciously recognize. It's something subconsciously that keeps them engaged and is visually appealing to them when they're watching the video. You can also experiment with transitions. You'll see this in a second. And then there's one more. And so it's actually easier to do than it looks, but it's really just splicing video together. Basically, you can see that the person in it, which is me, if you didn't recognize, the person in it stays in the same position, and all that's changing is their hand, or they're pairing up movements that are identical. And so it looks like a magical transition. If you're interested in doing that kind of stuff, you can on Instagram, you can even just type in a search thing about, reel transitions. And there's lots of like little tutorials that will show you, break down how to do that. It's not something I can show you because I don't have like the footage on hand to be able to recreate that. But this one I'm not going to click on because it's going to kick us out if I do it. But strong openings. So you've got a couple seconds while people are scrolling to grab their attention. This is a client of mine. He actually made this. And basically what he's doing is, as the video starts, he's flipping his head up and putting his hair in a ponytail. And the responses to it was, everyone's like, love the hair flip. The hair flip was great. So it's a strong eye-catching opening. Anything with movement in your opening to grab that attention is always really important. And then, I always think about quality over complexity. Certainly making a complex reel is interesting and cool, but it doesn't have to be that complex to be engaging or successful. And this is just a good example of a reel that performed well. And it's just simple. It speaks to people nostalgia and hopes, and it speaks to their nostalgia and their hopes and dreams and what they want to do on summer vacation. And it's a reel with a trending music. It was trending at the time, I should say. And there was no reason to go overboard in complexity to make that work. So, how to gain reach with Reels. So like I said before, they are prioritized by the algorithm, the Instagram algorithm. They do enjoy higher engagement rates, partially due to they are a more engaging format, but also because they typically can earn you more reach. Small brands tend to get highest view rates. This is probably because they have a really engaged following. And so when Instagram sees a piece of content performing well, they're going to start bumping it up into more feeds, more and more feeds. So it's a little bit of like a snowball effect. And so small brands, if you already have a really engaged audience, creating a reel that they can engage with will help boost that reel, because you have that loyal following. Important metrics that you want to look for are comments, saves, and shares. You can get deep into the analytics and look at view rates. You know, I can't remember what the average view rate is. I think it might be around 25% or so. So if you're getting people to watch the whole thing, you know, 50% of your people to watch the whole thing, you're doing really good. That also might depend on video length. You know, there's a lot of, as you start Googling stuff about reel strategy, you might hear a lot of like, oh, like 7 seconds is the magic number, or 10 seconds is the magic number. There is no magic number. Of course, the shorter the reel, the less likely they might be to scroll away, or you get a double view from them. But honestly, people are going to watch what they're interested in and what they find relevant. If you make a good reel that's going to resonate with your audience, they're probably going to watch it. I mean, I watched like a super long reel the other day about like these people over in China making like clay pots or something. I got sucked right into it. I watched the whole thing. And I don't even make clay pots, but if it's engaging, they're going to watch it. People do have shorter attention spans, but they also are selective about what they're going to spend their time watching. And if it's good and it's interesting, they'll watch it. You want to look for trending audio, and I'll talk about that when we get my phone online. And use as many in-app tools as you can. When I say in-app tools, those are, and I'll show them on my phone when we get that going, but, you know, using the text function in the app, using all the transitions in the app, basically as much of the video you can edit within the Instagram app. Supposedly that's better because they want you to use their tools. And so how they figure out whether you've used those tools, they can in certain ways. But if you can make the reel in Instagram, I always suggest that. Use original content. That just means the stuff that you've taken video of. Pulling a lot of stock video and using that. Instagram can tell whether it's stock video or not. And so using your own original content, they can tell if it's content that's been pulled from somewhere else as well. Like, so as much video of your own that you can use, the better. And then, you know, use engagement asks on screen or in in your caption, you know, like, for example, you know, save this post if you're planning a 2025 wedding or 2026 wedding. You know, giving them, you know, give them the ask them to do something. If you don't ask, no one's going to do it. And then, you know, people connect with people. It's social media. We want to see people. There's really no more faceless brands these days. There's no more big brands and you don't know who's behind it. You really have to start putting yourself out there. I know that can be scary. And it doesn't mean that you have to be, you know, full on selfieing your face or doing a dance or anything like that. But the more that you can put a human face behind your brand, the better. And reels actually have a longer lifespan than image posts. They might sit, I mean, I've had reels sit at very low views for days and days. And then all of a sudden they skyrocket in reach and views and stuff. And still to this day, you know, every once in a while, I see reels that somehow get popped back into the back into feeds. And then, you know, one day we might see a few extra likes on a reel that, you know, we had posted several weeks prior. So they have a much longer lifespan than the other post formats do, which means that they, you know, they're a little bit longer investment of your time. And you know, be patient. You know, your first reel is probably not going to pop off. It might not get a lot of great views. Be patient, keep practicing, keep posting them. I kind of look back, like, you know, when I first started making reels, I look back at some of those first ones I made, and they make me want to cringe. But you just got to stick with it, practice it, get used to the platform. The more you do it, the faster it's going to be, and the more it's going to be instinctual. And try not to go viral. I know that can be really exciting, but virality can actually sometimes not be beneficial if all of a sudden you've got a bunch of followers who now do not relate to your brand at all. They just saw one funny video and they followed you, but now they're getting content from you that doesn't make sense to them. And having a lot of followers with very low engagement doesn't rank your profile very well. So you actually don't really want to go viral. You want to make sure that you find the right people who are interested in your brand. There's no point in having 1 million followers if only, you know, 2,000 of them actually want to buy your product. All right, so give me just a second. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to stop sharing that screen. We are going to get my phone on the line, and we're going to do a reel. Just a second. All right, hold on. For some reason. There we go. Okay.
I may have to make your phone co-host to let you screen share it. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. You could do that. That'd be awesome.
All right. Be good to go.
Okay. So let's hopefully this works like it did this morning. Okay, so like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share my phone and basically walk you through making a reel together. You obviously won't be able to see my, you know, where I'm touching on the screen, so I'm going to try to narrate it as best as possible. All right. Halfway there. Okay. All right. So it's a little lagging, but I think it should be okay. All righty. So we are in the Instagram app, and basically if I have a reel, how I always start with finding an audio first. So I go over down to the reels, which is right next to your little profile icon at the bottom. So we're going to basically, I'm going to mute that for a second. And so basically I'm just going to kind of scroll through until I see a sound that I like and see a sound that is trending. And so how you can tell if a sound is trending is if you see on that bottom right-hand corner, there's a little square with an arrow next to it. That's the music, that's the audio icon. And if it's trending, it's going to have that little arrow indicating that it's a trending sound. And what that means is a lot of people are using it. And if you use it, it's more likely that your reel is going to be pushed into feeds. So for example, now you can see that whatever this is not a trending audio. Again, if you see at that bottom right-hand corner, that little audio icon, it's just got the music note next to it, not an audio, which I don't know what that video is, but so I'm gonna keep the audio off for just now. What's this?
Should be your last one, nothing like your last one. You look better on me, that's fashion.
We don't want to do this. Hold on. Okay, we'll use this song. Pause it for a second. So now we picked a song just by tapping that little icon in the corner. Luckily, I chose one that is allowing me to use the audio. If you see the use audio at the top, I'm on, my MXH Marketing is obviously a business Instagram account. If you don't see that use audio button at the top, it means that for whatever reason, the song hasn't been licensed for business use. Private accounts, like your personal account, you can use almost any music on Instagram, but business accounts can only use certain music. So if you don't see that use audio button, it's not licensed for business use. So we picked our song. We're going to go to use audio. Oh, no, why is that doing that? Okay, sorry about that. So we're going to go to use audio. And now this is where you're going to see, all your media and stuff. I'm going to go to an album because I already have stuff pulled for this. And so you're going to see your media, and now you can start picking the different footage that you want. So we're going to do this one. We're going to do this one. Let's do this one. Let's do airplane, that. Let's do, what's that? I'm just picking some random ones. So we picked 7 clips. Now we're going to hit next. Well, hold on. There we go. All right, I'm going to pause this for a second. So hold on, we're going to move there. All right, so I've just loaded it up. Now we're in the editing mode. And you can see all these things on the bottom. I usually go to edit video on that bottom left-hand corner because it's going to bring you up to see the actual clips and the sound. Oh my God, everyone's sending me messages. You're going to be able to see the actual clips and the music sound waves and stuff, and it's going to make editing a lot easier. So you hit edit video, and now you can see all that here. I'm going to do something really quick. I'm going to turn the volume down on this song so that as I'm talking, you'll be able to hear me. So since I'm here, I'm just going to explain it. This is how you can adjust your volume. If this was a video of me speaking or something, you could decrease the sound of your voice or get rid of it, or you could decrease the audio volume and enhance your volume so that the audio was the music was in the background, but people could still hear you talk. But I just need to turn that down so you'll be able to hear me when I do this. All right, so this is your main editing, and you can go back to that full screen just by tapping it. But again, we're going to go back to edit video. And here's where you have all these different tools. You can add text, add sticker, change the audio. We've already picked our audio, so we're good. If you need to add another clip, you do that here. You can add captions if you have a voiceover. You can put filters on things. And so we're just going to start really quick with how we're going to clip this up. So right now it has all of these clips timed at, I think, 1 second, 2 seconds, or something like that. They're all equally spaced. But like I mentioned before, with timing things to change with, with music, or transition with music, you don't want them to all be the same length. So I'm going to play this just for a second. Hold on. This is not a good beat. I picked a bad song for transitions. So you can kind of hear where that beat just dropped a little bit. So we're going to kind of edit in the middle of this because I feel like I didn't pick a good song for transitions. So I've paused it where we could hear that drop in that change in that music, so that and then we're going to time our video up with that so that it's nice and seamless and fun to watch. So we're going to take this, we're going to make this clip longer. And I'm going to shorten it here. And I'm actually going to just increase the volume a little bit so I can hear it better. And so now, wait. Oh, it's doing that to me. I see what it's doing. All right, sorry, we're having to play around with a little bit something. Okay, I think I've got it close. We're gonna try it. All right, so we're going from here. So you can see how we've made that transition, and basically what you're doing is you're tapping on that clip and you're grabbing these little arrows and you're sliding them from side to side. Now with this clip, I actually want to make this clip go really fast because it's going to look a lot cooler if I do that. So one way you can do this is you've clicked on your clip, you have that highlighted, and you can go down to one of these tools at the bottom, and we're going to go to speed. And I'm going to boost this up to be really fast. And so now, and so you can change, the speed of the video, change the feeling of it. We probably actually want to make this longer to make it cool. And I want you to notice that when you see these editable tools at the bottom here, when I highlight that clip, I want you to watch how they change. So we're going to highlight the clip, and now I've got different tools. So you have tools to edit the whole video as a whole, and you have tools to edit each clip. A couple of the more important ones that I use a lot are like this adjust section. That means that, that clip in the video is only 2 seconds long, but maybe you want a very specific 2 seconds. So you can choose what 2 seconds those are going to be. Another one that's good to use is, let's say, this is a good one. Let's make it longer. So let's say you have this long clip, but you don't want the whole thing in there. So you've got your clip edited, and let's say right here, you can actually split this clip into 2. And now you have that second clip. So that was the first one. Now it's split up into 2. And you can actually shorten this so that now it's going to go from, and you've just cut out maybe a little dead weight, or you just want to make the transition, the transition different. But so you can, once you highlight a clip, you can use that split tool to cut a long clip down, or pick and choose what you want from it. So let's talk about text, because that's another major tool that a lot of people use. So if you want to add text, I usually go to maybe right about where I want it, and you can see that I don't have any clips highlighted. It's just the regular editing screen. So I'm down here, and that first button, add text. And I don't know, we're going to put Adventure Time. So your default color and font might be different, and but while you're in this text tool, this is how you change. You click on that, the A for different fonts. You can change the color with the color palette. This is an effect, so you could have it type it out. This is another type of effect. It's just going to be sparkly. You can either center align it like that. You could put, and then you can change kind of the color blocking. And basically, sometimes you just got to tap through them to get the different styles that you want. Sometimes they pop up at the top like these are. But sometimes like with this, color blocking, you kind of just keep tapping it until you find what you like. So when you're done, you're just going to tap anywhere on the screen to exit out. You go, and then this is where you can actually move it around. And the cool thing about Instagram is it'll show you when you get near the sides, it's going to show you like your safe space. So you can actually see it kind of hovers over like where you'll see like the like button, the comment button, and then your like your username down here. And basically you obviously don't want text underneath these things because it's going to get obscured. And then it also kind of has these snap lines where like when you get close to the middle, it's going to kind of snap the text to the middle for you. So if you want to make it larger or bigger, you just do like, when you're zooming in on a picture, you just do the same thing with the text, and that's how you make it bigger or smaller. So let's say we're all good with this. We're going to hit done. And now it's going to bring you back to that main editing screen. And same thing with your video clips. You can change the duration of how long you want it to be on your screen. And with just by grabbing and pulling those little yellow arrows at the end. Sorry, my dog is in the background. Stickers are just a little additional thing. People can put sort of like just like when you make an Instagram story, you can now add these to your reels to give locations, give extra context, make them more engaging. Same thing, you can show how long the sticker pops up for. And you can see how like the different lengths, like things disappear. 1242. All right, I'm going to show you one more thing with these. And that's going to be transitions. So transitions. Oh, and if you want to see more or less of your clips, like I'm doing here, it's again, just like you're zooming in on a photo, zooming in and out of a photo. So I'm zooming in more because I want to be able to, not have my big fingers accidentally hit something I don't want it to hit. Like I just did. So to do a transition between clip to clip, if you want to add transitions, you just hit this little button that's in the middle right there. You hit that, and then it's going to show. Oh yeah, this also didn't work the last time we did it, but let's put it in there. So you just click on it, like I said, pick the one you like. Let's do warp, and then let's see how it plays. Yeah, it worked. So you can see, and that adds. If you kind of have two videos that are like clashing together, you might want to add one of those transitions between the two clips to sort of help smooth the eyes, like how people are viewing it, smooth the eye movement out so that it makes the video more cohesive, visually speaking. Okay, I think that covers the basics. It's 12:44 and I want to make sure we have time for lessons. I know that was a very quick sort of bare bones basic, threw a lot at you. But my recommendation is just to spend time in there, like playing around with things, even before you make, your first reel. You can actually, if you want to play around with it, you can actually, so to finish up a reel, when you're done, you go to this little arrow up in your top right hand corner. And that's where you can, add your caption, your tags, just like a regular post. You can choose what cover, what you want the cover photo to be when you upload it, so that it's the cover that's going to show on your Instagram grid. And then, if you've gone through it and you're not sure if you like it or you want to try something else, you can always save it to draft. And then you can always come back to it, edit it later, or get rid of it. But yeah, I suggest spending some time playing around with it. Once you get it, you'll get better as it goes on, and these editing things you'll get much faster at it, and it won't be so scary.
Yeah, I think it's a great overview of what can be a daunting process. I myself for mine, I've barely touched dipped my toes into reels just because I feel a little, it's a little imposing, but that was a great clarification, kind of demystified it, and I'm hoping to make my first one soon.
I hope so
Either
too.
way,
Yeah.
yeah, we've got a good amount of questions here in the chat. We'll start with James a little while ago asking, are Reels searchable by search engine optimization or GEO, generative engine optimization?
Oh, that is a good question. Hold on, I'm gonna turn my phone off so I don't keep hearing myself. That's a good question. Shorts are on Google, probably because they're owned by the same. So like Shorts will show up as a search result. Generative, I'm not sure. I'm not, the goal is to now get into the AI generated search results for sure, because they pull from wherever, and now they're like the most top clicked search results. But I don't know an exact answer. Shorts from YouTube certainly do show up in search results. I'm just thinking about something I searched the other day, and I know for a fact that happened. But they are showing up, like if you're on Instagram now does keyword search. So if you're searching something like a hikes in Maine, if your reel somehow includes hikes in Maine, it will show up in those search results. As for like a Google or generated search results, I don't know the exact answer for that.
We have Ray on the topic of the music to use. How do you find music that isn't rights protected? I know that like copyright can be an issue sometimes.
Yeah, that's a good question. Certainly if you're going to make a reel, so how I did it is I scroll through reels and I just find a sound I like, and that is trending, and then I go and I open it. I'd say, most music that I pick typically is licensed for you to use. But certainly sometimes you're like, I can't use that song. If you want to just skip that part entirely, you can go, just like you would be making a static post, just go to make a post, but you're going to make a reel. And then when you choose audio, it will only give you audio that businesses can use. So that's a way you can do it. If you want to just skip doing, scrolling through reels to find one you like, you can just go straight to making that reel, choose the audio from that toolbar, that editing toolbar, and it'll only give you business approved audio.
Gotcha. So what I'm understanding is that Instagram will essentially license it for you, because I know copyright strikes are a problem on YouTube.
Yeah. So if you're choosing the music through Instagram when you're making a reel, they've taken care of all of those issues for you. There are a few times where like you've made, like it's happened before, and it happens very rarely, but there are times where like you'll make a reel with a sound, and then maybe like a week later the audio is no longer on that reel. All Instagram does is just pull the audio. They're not going to ding you for it or anything like that. If you are using video or using audio, like if you've made a video outside of Instagram and you're uploading it, you do need to have the copyrights for that music. Otherwise they'll scan it and won't approve it. But if you're making it inside Instagram, they've got that taken care of on their end.
Cool. Heather asks, are the same options available somewhere on the desktop version of Instagram, or do they just prioritize the app for creating reels?
I believe it's just on the app. The desktop version, I'm not even sure if you can make a reel. I don't know what you can do in Meta. But the app, from what I know of, like trying to post through desktop in general, it's much, you're going to have, I would be willing to guess that, yeah, you have more tools. I've never made a reel through desktop. I'm not sure if you really can. I don't know what the Meta Suite offers. But yeah, so that's
Gotcha.
there.
All right. Laura's asks, I am trying to attract entrepreneurs and business owners that need help with their branding. How do I show reels to these specific people? Do you still use hashtags like you do on a regular post? If so, how many people actually find what they want to follow through hashtags?
Yeah. So, all right. It feels like there's two parts to that. So yeah, like how do you show branding? You can do either mock-ups of work, or if you're allowed to do that, you could try to show your process of how you go through that. For entrepreneurs, if you're targeting entrepreneurs, startups, your content might be more educational in terms of like posting motivational quotes or tips for entrepreneurs that maybe relate to branding. So, start making reels around freebie branding tips or something. And for the reel, you might want to look at some things of like, maybe it's just water, a shot of a river and water going by, and you're using text to like a text over, you're adding text to that video to show, to convey that message. As for hashtags, they're certainly not a powerhouse in terms of gaining reach, like they used to be back in the day. I would say how I use hashtags is using a mix of like really niche ones that relate very specifically to the topic that your reel is about, and then also doing some more broader ones. So for example, like let's say you're doing visit tourism marketing in Skowhegan, Maine. Visit Skowhegan is a very niche hashtag, while Maine thing, which is the Maine general tourism hashtag, is very broad and encompasses all of Maine tourism. So I kind of do a mix of those, but you want to use those hashtags to kind of act as keywords. So if someone's searching for a topic, those hashtags can help indicate what your reel is about in the algorithm, so the algorithm can then serve it better.
Awesome. Laura asks, it looks like it's best to have pictures and or short vids pre-made, so you're not recording the reel as you're designing it. Would you say that's the case?
Yes, I think that's a best practice is definitely record before. Recording in real time with I mean, you can try it out. I always pre-record and then mix it in the video, in the app.
Laura with some more questions, wondering how much time would you schedule out to make a reel, and how long would it take? Would you say it takes you to make one?
That's a complex question. I would say I typically when I go out and get content, I kind of have a vision of what the reel I am going to make in mind. So for example, that screenshot I showed of like going to that waterfall, I know I'm going to that waterfall to create content in a reel. So I'm getting and I'm taking more footage than I probably will actually use. So I'm getting footage of walking to the trailhead, parking, going down the trailhead, this and that. I'm getting, you know, some beauty shots and some shots of me, of myself walking. And so I'm getting more content than I actually am going to need. And I kind of already in my head have it lined up of how all that is going to fit together. So in terms of, but the physical technical aspect of making that reel, the more you do it, the faster you're going to be. I can usually put together a reel in less than 15 minutes or so. I'd say I spend more time actually looking for the perfect song than I do the actual editing process. That being said, you know, I'm not the types of reels that I currently make for different clients. We don't go super text heavy. And they're not crazy long. I'm making reels that are typically anywhere from 15 to 25 seconds. So they're in terms of like the editing, they're a little more simplistic in that nature. So it's really dependent on how much you want to add to it, how much editing you want to do. And like I said, the more you do it, the faster you're going to be. It used to take me a while to do reels. I can usually whip one up in about 15 minutes. But that's because I've also already kind of planned this ahead of time too. Like I've already gotten the content. I kind of have a vision on how that's going to lay out in a reel.
Gotcha. Laura has another good one, I think. How much would you say, how often should you post a reel to gain leverage in the algorithm? Or how much does often posting or frequent posting help or hinder your algorithm?
Yeah, I try to stay away from trying to think about outsmarting the algorithm, because you're probably never going to win. I feel like half the time Instagram doesn't even really know what it's doing. But it's, I would say post as often as your followers are, your audience is willing to gobble up content. You can certainly, you know, if you look at your content and you see a decline in engagement, it means you're probably oversaturating your feed, and your followers are getting fatigued by all the content coming out. If you're doing, you know, but I mean, I would say on a general basis, anywhere from 3 to 5, 7 posts a week is great. If they're all reels, that's awesome. But I would just say, make sure that your reels, you know, don't post reels for content's sake. Make sure they have purpose. Because if you're posting reels that don't make any sense or aren't relevant or aren't interesting, then you're going to lose engagement. I
Gotcha.
hope that.
I know we addressed that. You know, the desktop version of Instagram doesn't seem to allow you to edit reels, but Leonard is wondering if possibly an iPad or Surface, the tablet version. Do you know if the suite is still in that version of the app or not?
I would imagine, because on a tablet, it is the mobile app. So I would imagine, yeah, if you want a bigger screen, I haven't been on Instagram on my tablet in a while, so I can't tell you for sure. But if it's a replica, I would imagine you're downloading it from the App Store, so I would imagine it's a replica of the mobile app. And so I would imagine yes, but I haven't been on the tablet in a while to check it out.
Gotcha. Todd is wondering if video has to be recorded in portrait in order to work on Instagram. Todd says, I typically shoot on landscape mode for YouTube, etc., and always seem to have issues when trying to share the same videos on Instagram. My quick recommendation I see a lot on Reels is like the turn sideways now as like the opening of the clip, but it's more for you.
Yeah, it's yeah, you can either do that, turn sideways. I don't think that's like that's a detrimental thing to do. But or you could when you upload video, you can that's landscaped. There is a option to scale it up. It's on the left-hand side. You can scale it up. And I think the only problem with that might be is if your resolution isn't high enough, it could look blurry. But yeah, I mean, it's Reels definitely favors portrait mode over landscape. So if unless you can scale up your landscape into portrait and still get the frame that you want, because you're obviously zooming in. So if your subject is still in frame, then great, and it's not blurry. Otherwise, yeah, I know videographers don't like shooting in portrait mode.
It can be a hassle, I feel, from times I've
It
had,
hurts
but
your soul.
yeah, there's ways around it. Is what I gather.
Yeah.
Laura with another good one. As a general rule, should you post your reel as a story as well, or should stories be a separate creation?
No, I usually, once a reel has been published, I share it into the story. Stories are interesting. So you kind of think about Instagram in two ways. Your feed, whether that's a static post or a reel, is really for trying to find new followers and gain reach. Your Instagram stories, those are only looked at by your current followers. So you want to use stories as a way to re-engage and reach your current followers. So yeah, whenever I make a reel, I might wait a day, or I don't even know if you really need to wait. I've tried to play around with that. You don't really need to wait, but just share it to your stories so that now your followers have a direct line to finding that reel, whether it's been pushed into their algorithm or not.
Sure. Ray is asking if you have any suggestions about the cover image for a reel.
Yeah. So cover image, I'd say something that's certainly eye-catching. So they're going to see the cover only in a couple of places. One, if they've gone to your profile and they're looking at your feed grid, they're going to see the cover there. The other time they're going to see that cover is if it's shared to another person. So if someone shares your reel to another person, that's another time that they're going to see the cover. Otherwise, they're not going to see that cover image. So I would make, as with anything else, I would make it attractive. You can upload an image, like a separate image as your cover photo, and maybe that has text on it that says 5 best tips for entrepreneurs, or, 5, maybe it has text on it, maybe it doesn't. I will tell you, I get really upset when reels are not, when the cover photo is not the same as a reel. And people do that to make sure that their grid looks beautiful, is aesthetically pleasing. But it is frustrating when you think you're being sent one thing and it turns out to be a video of something completely different. So I would just be careful with that game, because you don't want to frustrate your followers.
Totally. Joan with a suggestion that says, I had access to better audio selection in my business once I defined the business as entrepreneur. Do you find that the type of business, affects your audio selection?
Yes, it does. I think, and I'm not sure honestly, I'm not sure what the legality is of claiming you're a creator or an entrepreneur versus business. I would say in terms of Instagram, they can tell what stuff is. So if you're a business and you're kind of posing and you're using a content creator account, what if there's ramifications and consequences to that? I don't know. But yes, different types of pages do have different access to contents, and it comes into usage rights. So if an entrepreneur has more music access than a business does, there's probably a legal reason for that. And I wouldn't try to blur those lines too hard.
Sure. Last but not least, we do have kind of 2 questions on using programs outside of the Instagram editing suite. Ray with a few suggestions, and Christopher wondering Ray uses CapCut and Adobe Express as well as Canva. But Christopher is wondering about using DaVinci Resolve, and overall, is it advisable or not to use outside editing software in order to make a reel?
Yeah, so I sometimes also edit outside of Instagram as well. I typically edit in Instagram. honestly, the back and forth between Instagram of whether they basically reward people who use in-app editing versus out of app editing is up in the air, because they say yes and they say no, and it's kind of tough to get a solid answer from them. I would say that if your videos, you're producing better videos outside of Instagram on different apps, and then moving them in, do whatever is going to make that video nicer and better quality and more captivating. So it's tough to, like I said, Instagram kind of goes, they haven't really outright said that they punish people editing outside the app, but they haven't, it's kind of mixed signals out there. But if you're better at editing, I'll say this, if you're better at editing a video outside of the Instagram app, do what you're good at, and then upload in. I don't think you're going to see a huge difference in results.
Yeah, I would say too that would play back into the questions about, using a larger format tool such as a tablet or your desktop to edit. That would allow you to be in a more accessible place if the actual Instagram Reel editor isn't as accessible for you.
Yeah.
Just what I'm gleaning from it. But I myself use Adobe Rush sometimes for Score here for our socials. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and that does wrap up our questions, unless anyone else has any to get in here. In the meantime, I want to thank Mary for putting on a great presentation. I think, reels and shorts are an unavoidable portion of the current advertising and marketing landscape, but they can be fun if you know how to work them.
Yeah.
And I want to thank everyone for attending today. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. I did miss a question from Ray earlier about boosting your reel. What would you say? How would you say, should you boost your reel when Instagram prompts you to?
Yeah, Instagram loves to prompt that. I would take that with a grain of salt. They just want your money. I would say boost your reel if it's getting good engagement. If it's getting good organic engagement, and I'm not saying like you have to have 1,000 views or something before you boost it, but if you see like if your engagement rate is good, do that engagement rate calculation. If your engagement rate is good on that reel, go ahead and boost it, because if the people who have currently seen it engage with it, it's more than likely that it tracks that a boosted audience will also like it and engage with it. But yeah, if Instagram is telling you to do it, I would take that with a grain of salt. They just want you to spend money with them.
Yeah, that's how what I've noticed myself. So
yeah,
right.
yeah, they've prompted me to boost on things that didn't make sense to me at all, and I think they just want your money.
All right. Well, with that, I think we'll wrap things up today. Thanks again for putting on a great presentation, and I want to thank everyone for attending today. We will be sending the slides out as well as the recording once they're available to me. And we do include a survey in the message that I will be sending it out. Keep an eye out for an email from me, Jasper with Score. We want to thank again Maine Technology Institute for helping sponsor today's event. And if you're once more not familiar with us at Score, we are a free, confidential one-on-one mentoring service. Whether you're starting or growing your business, it's easy to request a meeting with one of our volunteers by visiting score.org and filling out a brief online form by entering your zip code. We are a nonprofit partner of the Small Business Administration with over 240 chapters around the country, free right here in Maine. And we did get our stats from last year recently. We helped over 560 new businesses start in the state of Maine last year. And I want to thank everyone one last time for attending. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.